Today we will see security requirements in IoT. So these are some security requirements that can be required in case of implementing IoT security for various devices as well as for the network. Access control, authentication, data confidentiality, availability, trust management, secure storage, tamper resistance, scalability, flexibility, and adaptability. These security requirements needs to be focused while implementing any of the IoT application. So why security is important? To protect the data and to protect the devices that can be used in case of your IoT application implementation. We will see these security requirements one by one in detail. Let's consider this IoT application. In this diagram, you can see on the left hand side, there is an IoT application implemented where there is one user, Bluetooth is used, infrared or Bluetooth can be used. There is mobile network implemented. This device can be connected to your network and it will have your internet connectivity, which will be connected to your database through some kind of, let's say, firewall, and user is going to access that data over on his or her machine from database. So this is what an example of IoT application implemented. So these security dimension must be implemented for this IoT application, because this application must be protect from various kind of threats, destruction of resources by unauthorized user. If there will be an unauthorized user, then that user may destroy the resources that we have used for implementation of IoT application. Then these things can be implemented for preventing from the information corruption, removal or theft of resources can be prevented with the help of these security dimensions. Again, information disclosure can be prevented with the help of these security aspects once we implement these security dimensions on IoT application. And last one, this application can be attacked, can be prevented from various kind of attacks by hacker. So this kind of security dimension, like your access control, authentication, non-repudiation, data confidentiality, communication security, data integrity, availability, privacy, all those security dimension needs to be considered while developing any kind of IoT application. So let us see them one by one. First one is access control. It provides authorized access to the network resources. So access control mainly deal with to give access to the network resources which will be authorized in nature. So this authorized access will be given to all the authorized user only which are available in your, let's say, application. IoT is ad hoc and dynamic in nature, so efficient and robust mechanism of secure access to resources must be deployed with distributed nature. So whenever there will be an IoT application which will be in ad hoc and dynamic in nature, in that case, there must be some efficient and robust mechanism. It must be implemented for your IoT application. Why? To provide secure access to all the resources, and those secure access of resources must be given in distributed nature. This is what the access control is, in which authorized access needs to be given to all the users of your network resources. That is the main principle behind access control. Second is authentication. An identity establishment between communicating parties or devices is treated as your what? Authentication. So authentication will be basically an identity establishment activity, and where this identity establishment has been done, it is implemented between various communicating parties or various communicating devices. Let's say there are 4-5 communicating devices in your single IoT application. All those devices must be what? Authorized users. Then only the communication between those devices will take place, and it will be treated as authorized only if they are authenticated. Let's consider this. Due to diversity of devices and end users, there should be an attack resistance and lightweight solution for authentication. In case of your IoT application, there are huge number of devices and so many end users will be involved in case of your IoT application. So there should be the mechanism in which an attack resistance and lightweight solution for authentication must be provided. There should not be very heavy solution. There should not be very complicated authentication mechanism implemented, and there should be some, uh, let's say, activity that will be work based on your attack resistance, and it should be implemented in your IoT application. Then third one is data confidentiality. Means what? Protecting data from unauthorized disclosure and data tampering. So data confidentiality means we need to protect the data from unauthorized user, and unauthorized user must not tamper the data. That means they must not modify the data or they must not delete the data. This is what the process of data confidentiality, where this data should be protected from unauthorized user. Secure, lightweight, and efficient key exchange mechanism is required due to dynamic network technology. Whenever we are implementing IoT application, that IoT application will be network application, and there will be any kind of network topology will be implemented. So in that case, there should be some secure, lightweight, and efficient key mechanism or exchange mechanism must be implemented in case of your IoT application, and that mechanism will be helpful for data confidentiality. That means it will going to protect the data generated from various IoT devices in your IoT application. Then next one is availability. Ensuring no denial of authorized access to network resources. In case of your availability, there should not be any kind of denial of authorized access to network resources. Let's say in case of your IoT application, there are so many network resources available. And if any authorized user wants to access some authorized resource, then there should not be any kind of denial of access to those particular resources. This is called as availability. That means all the resources must be available for all the type of your authorized users. Access control and availability problems are critical due to wireless nature of ad hoc networks. As IoT application mainly worked on your wireless nature, so access control and availability problem may be the critical in case of your wireless nature of your IoT application. In that case, we must focus on every resource must be accessible and every resource must be available to their authorized users. Then next is trust management. In case of your trust management and trust-based access control are basic requirements in IoT due to its roaming nature. All the IoT application, whenever we are going to implement, the nature of that IoT application may be treated as roaming. That means it will be moving from one location to another location. We will consider it as. So in case of this roaming nature, trust management and trust-based access control will be the basic requirement of your IoT application. So trust management will mainly going to deal with your trust center, and it will be based on your what? Test-based access control. There are some decision rules needs to be evolved for trust management in case of your IoT. So some predefined rule must be framed, some predefined rule must be implemented for all the types of your IoT application, where which devices must be trusted and which network must be trusted, who is your trusted author or who is your trusted user, that needs to be identified. And all the process of this trusting activity will be done in case of your what? Trust management. Then secure storage. It involves confidentiality and integrity of sensitive information stored in the system. Whenever we will discuss about IoT application, that IoT application will continuously generate some kind of data. It will continuously going to generate some kind of information. That information must be stored at some confidential location, and there should not be any kind of integrity in case of your such sensitive information. So there should be proper secure storage maintained for your IoT application data storage activity. Why? Because Confidentiality and integrity of sensitive information will be involved in case of your data generation in IoT application. Then next is your temper resistance. It refers to the desire to maintain these security requirements even when the device falls into the hands of malicious parties and can be physically or logically probed. Means what? Let's say there is an attack on your IoT application. Hacker will going to enter in your application. In that situation, all those devices must meet some security requirements and they must follow some security requirements. That is nothing but your temper resistance. Temper resistance means there should not be any kind of tempering to your any of the data or any of the physical or logical device. Tempering should not happen even if your network has been hacked or even if your application has been hacked. There should not be any kind of data modification, data manipulation, or data deletion in case of your hacking activity of your network. Then scalability. IoT system will consist of various devices of different capabilities, communication means, protocols, and across different geographical location. When we talk about any IoT application or any IoT system, then that system must have some devices which will have different capabilities. They will have various communication means, either it will be communicated through wired or wireless network. Either it will work on various IoT protocols, that is your Zigbee, Modbus, MQTT, COAP, and so on, and across different geographical location. So irrespective of your device capabilities, communication means, various protocols, and geographical location, your IoT system must work properly. As a result, system is highly distributed, heterogeneous, and pervasive in nature. So dealing with such type of system, scalability is important point in designing a security solution. So the nature of your IoT system can be, it will based on your various parameters as we have discussed over here, like capabilities, communication, protocols, and geographical location. In such situation, there will be your heterogeneous system. So the security solution for such kind of heterogeneous system must be implemented very properly based on the scalability of IoT application. Then next is your flexibility and adaptability. IoT may consist of mobile communication devices which can roam around freely with from one type of environment to other with different type of risk and security threats. Yes, whenever we will talk about IoT application, one thing should definitely come in our mind that there will be so many mobile communication devices involved in your IoT application. That means what? Those mobile devices will be roam from one location to another location and it will work on your wireless network. So when there will be the roaming of IoT devices, and those roaming can be from one type of environment to another, means for from your wireless to wire, let's say, environment. In that case, there should be some different type of risk and security threats possible. So we need to focus on such type of risk and security, and it will be focused in your flexibility and adaptability. Also, users are likely to have different privacy profile depending on environment or with whom they are communicating. In such cases, users are likely have various profiles that will be depend on type of environment they are dealing with and which kind of devices they are communicating with. That will be focused in case of your what? This type of security. Therefore, flexibility and adaptability are other important requirements for security solution in case of your IoT. So we must focus on flexibility and adaptability as a part of your security requirement in while implementing your IoT application. Why? Because of this kind of mobile nature of various IoT devices. Challenges for secure IoT. These are various challenges for securing your IoT application from various threats. Number one, identity management for device. distributed access and control, privacy, end-to-end security, secure interaction in or with IoT device, secure data management and data exchange, privacy and security structure. So these are some challenges that needs to be addressed while implementing your IoT application. So let us see these challenges one by one. Identity management for devices. New identity concept and their implication in IoT world. So whenever there will be new device implemented or new device introduced in your IoT application, there should be proper identity management of those IoT devices in case of your application implementation. Identity delegation, imprinting of identity in things, merging identities to create a meta identity, etc. So in case of your identity management, these activities will be focused. That means identity delegation will be focused. We must print imprinting of identity of things. So whatever IoT devices we are going to use in case of your IoT application, all those devices must have proper identity and they must be imprint. Then there must be merging of identities to create some kind of unique and meta identity. So meta identity will be the combination of different types of your identities, and it must be focused while implementing your identity management for various IoT devices. Then in case of your identity management, trust management and circle of trust must be focused. IoT belonging to various owners, that will be focused in case of your trust, because whenever there will be IoT application implemented, in that case, there will be proper trust management between various devices. And for that purpose, trust management and different policies for trust will be implemented. There should be proper identity and privacy of devices. Authentication scheme for IoT devices must be implemented in case of your IoT management for devices. Then secure attribute exchange and selective disclosure of attributes inside IoT must be implemented. So there should be proper security aspects implemented for your attribute exchange as well as for disclosure of attributes in case of your IoT devices. So these are the things that needs to be focused when we are going to introduce new device in your IoT application, and there should be proper identity management for such devices, IoT devices. Next one is secure interactions in or with IoT. There should be secure and certified context information for all the types of things or devices in case of your IoT application implementation. So everything or every device or every object in your IoT must be secure and it must be certified. There should be reliable computation and storage services provided by the IoT. So the computation must be reliable. It should be what? Properly trusted, and there should be proper storage services that will be provided by your IoT application. Interaction of things in a better than nothing security environment. So whenever there will be the interaction between various objects or things in your IoT application, one type of security environment must be focused, and that security environment is nothing but better than nothing. The name itself suggests that such kind of security will never, it was never better than previous one, and such kind of security will always be focused on your data security, communication security, network security, devices security. All types of security will be focused in this security environment. There should be secure dynamic network and space composition, discovery, namespace, resolution, and indexing of things in case of your IoT application. So whenever we are going to use various things or various objects in your IoT application, all those devices must be secure. They must be the part of your dynamic network. There should be proper space composition for all the IoT devices. The discovery of such devices must be possible. That means they should be easily accessible. They are discoverable by all the devices. There should be proper namespace for such devices. There should be proper resolution for all the devices. And Indexing of such devices must be properly implemented while implementing your IoT application. Then there should be the auditing of interaction with various things. That means which devices are implemented when and how many times it is interacting with other devices. So there should be proper auditing between various devices. There should be physical and virtual mobility of various things in your IoT. Next is distributed access control and privacy. Dynamic exchange of authenticated identity information between things. So there should be what? Dynamic exchange of authenticated entity information. When there will be two or more things, when they will start interacting with each other, means when one device will going to generate some data and that data will be transmitted to another device. In that case, there should be proper what? Dynamic exchange of entity information. That means who is going to send the data, who is going to receive the data. There should be such kind of proper identity information available at both the end, and such kind of exchange will be treated as your dynamic, because IoT device will continuously generating the data and it will continuously sending that data to other device. That's why it is dynamic in nature. There should be proper credential management and bootstrapping with single sign on for the things. So whenever there will be some IoT device, there must be proper credential management and there should be proper bootstrapping implemented for all the types of your IoT devices. Privacy aware policy based authorization system must be implemented for your such IoT application with deductive policies and delegation. So this kind of policy will be based on your what? Privacy awareness, and it is authorization system where there will be some predefined policies and there will be some delegations that will work on security of your IoT application, that will work on access control, and that will work on privacy of your network, privacy of data, and privacy of resources. Dynamic selection of applicable policies based on the environment in IoT. So whenever there will be an environment we are creating in case of your IoT application, that environment must be based on your what? Some dynamic selection applicable policies. So which kind of device must be selected, which kind of device should be implemented. There should be some proper dynamic selection of this policy is implemented in case of your IoT environment. Dynamic attributes negotiation for things must be implemented. There should be proper attribute and all those device attributes must be predefined and they must be properly implemented while your IoT application devices implementation. There should be proxy security service with delegation of things. Whenever there will be new thing will be deployed in your IoT application, proper proxy security service must be implemented for that particular thing. In particular, for 6LoWPAN, device privacy aware negotiation and application of attribute releasing policy must be implemented. So when we talk about 6LoWPAN, those devices will have privacy aware negotiation and it will have application of attribute releasing policies. So these policies will going to define what kind of application is, which devices must be included, what will be the properties, what will be the privacy related policies implemented. All those things related with your access control and privacy of data must be implemented in this type of your security aspect. Then there should be proper secure data management and exchange of data. Assurance for the information exchange between what? Various things. When we call it as a secure data exchange, as soon as the data will be transmitted from source to destination and there should be no modification in the data. That means there must be assurance for the information exchange between things. As soon as the data will be generated, it must be transmitted over the network to the destination. There is an assurity that data should definitely transmit. That is nothing but your what? Secure data management and exchange of secure data. This data must be secure and private management of distributed data spread across the multiple things will be focused in case of your what? Secure data management and exchange of data. So whatever distributed data is generated in case of your IoT application, that data will be distributed among various devices. While distributing that data, privacy management will be focused, and that particular private data will be spread across various devices in case of your IoT application. And at the end, that spreaded data will be collected at your server, or let's say at centralized location. There should be personal data auditing and enhanced audit data visualization for users to make them understand the uses of their identities and data by things. So whenever any data will be generated by any object, it should be clearly indicated that which device has generated which kind of data. So there should be personal data auditing of each devices. That means what? Which data is generated by which device at what time in which condition. All this personal auditing will be done for all the type of generated data, and this data must be provided as and when it is required. Sign context information for exchange with things controlled by user privacy policy. There are some privacy policies which are already defined for various type of users. Remember, whenever we will call it as a user, it will always be your what? Authorized user. So there should be proper what? Sign context information for exchange with the things controlled by various kind of policies which are usually defined for different types of users. Then there should be proper secure storage and deletion of audit data in a distributed IoT environment. When it will be your distributed IoT environment, there should be proper security implemented in case of your data storage, and deletion of such data must be implemented when the nature of your IoT environment will be distributed. The next is your end-to-end security. The name itself suggests that the security must be provided at one end to another end. End-to-end security measures between IoT devices and internet host are equally important. Whenever there will be some IoT devices and there will be internet, end-to-end security must be implemented for those devices as well as for the network. Applying cryptographic schemes for encryption and authentication codes to a packet is not sufficient for a resource constrained IoT. Only applying your cryptography for encryption and authentication is not sufficient for your what? Securing data which is generated by your IoT application. Hence, future research is required into efficient end-to-end security measures between IoT and the network. So there must be some kind of research that must be implemented while studying your IoT and your data generation in case of your IoT application. And last one is your privacy. Privacy is one of the most sensitive area in the context of IoT. Yes, because whenever data will going to generate, there must be proper privacy given to all the type of data. In IoT, all objects are connected to the internet and they communicate with each other over the internet. Hence, the privacy issue is crucial. Whenever there will be exchange of data between various things in IoT, privacy is important because data will be transmitted over the network from one device to another. That's why data privacy is very important. As the network gets expanded with new type of devices and heterogeneous networks, IoT users and devices have to access the digital world with wide range of protocols and methods. As soon as your IoT application will going to expand, internet will going to expand, there will be new type of devices and it will be heterogeneous network. That means sometime it will be wireless network and sometime it will be your wired network. In such cases, IoT users and devices have to access the digital world with wide range of protocols and methods. In such cases, there should be wide range of protocols and method must be implemented in case of your such heterogeneous network. Further, as ownership of these services by the user does not exist, the issue of privacy is getting more serious. Whenever there will be some devices or some users that does not exist, in that case, the ownership of that data must be what? Serious concern while implementing your IoT application. Then security structure will be focused in case of your the IoT will remain stable, persisting as a whole over a time. That means what? Whenever we will think about your IoT application, in that case, there should be proper security structure. The IoT will remain stable and persisting as a whole over the time. In the sequel, putting together the security mechanism of each logical layer cannot implement the defense in depth of the system. So whenever there will be some kind of logical layer of your, let's say, communication network, there should be proper defense system implemented in case of your security structure. So it is a challenging and important research area to construct security structure with the combination of control and information. In case of your IoT application, this security will become an research area, and it will become your what challenging and research area for generating some kind of security structure. Challenges presented above shows that there is a need of integrated approach of authentication and access control for ubiquitous devices in IoT. So whenever there will be ubiquitous devices in IoT, there should be proper access control for those ubiquitous devices. On the same side, there should be what? Some integrated approach of authentication must be provided for all the type of your IoT network and all the type of your IoT application. Furthermore, the solution for authentication and access control must be attack resistance from the well-known attack. So the solution for authentication and access control must be what? It must be attack resistance. That means it will must resist the different type of attack that can possible in case of your IoT application.